Howdy YouTube folks, it's your girl Ellen, just adjusting the camera here on this. Excuse the appearance if there might be some shadowing. I haven't really shaved today. I'm probably due for another. Anyways, I don't need to tell you what I was going to tell you. But I was sitting here thinking, and I thought about it, and I don't think I've ever made a video on this, and I felt like it'd be interesting too from my perspective. And I'm not saying this to be true, and I'm not saying that one couldn't be accepted or, at least respected in an area, but when I made the video about contemplating whether I would move to music career, mainly I said, like, I used California as an example because I feel like that's where the majority of the music I would most likely end up doing. I also don't know if I feel like there was a genre of music I left out in that one that I probably should have prefaced, and I had it just in my head, but obviously lately I've been a little forgetful about things. It happens when, I guess, because my mind is constantly thinking of things. But I did not mention Nashville, Tennessee. And the reason being, I'm not saying it could be that way, but because I am a transgender person and such, I believe that maybe I wouldn't be as receptive and as accepted in an area like that, because getting into country music would be really a good thing. But I just felt like I needed to make a video stating that's why I didn't mention Nashville, Tennessee, because I feel like, and I believe I also mentioned Las Vegas, which could be because a lot of like famous musicians came from Las Vegas. But again, as I stated, the music I would be really liking to do, the rockabilly, is to me, and the old school country is a pigeonhole. And actually, maybe I did mention country, but mainly like rockabilly. But it's just a pigeonholed area, and I don't know if I would want to get into modern pop. I have an acoustic guitar, as I've shown on my YouTube channel. I have a banjo, and I have a violin, which I want to learn two styles. I want to learn the violin, classical, and the fiddle, because I feel like it'll be good to know both, but mostly French-Canadian fiddle, as I've mentioned. But yeah, I thought about it, and I don't feel I mentioned Tennessee. Maybe I did, but then remembered that I had mentioned country, but I don't think I would get into the country because having to go to Nashville, Tennessee, and being worried that I think there's even a country scene in Texas. Being worried that I would probably not be receptive in such manner. So that's why I would never do that. And also, like I said, I think I've got it really decent where I am. It's not great, but it's decent. And I'm not saying that it's bad, but, you know, I've always wanted to uproot and reinvent myself and do something new with my life, because I feel like if I uprooted myself, I would, and moved somewhere, another state, and lived a different life, I feel like I would maybe make change in my life and maybe actually make steps to a better, but there's just no possible way either with funding and everything. I also was watching a thing, and I thought I would talk about this in this video, I say watching, I was looking at something, and it was a post on Instagram, and it was, if you've ever contemplated, would it just be easier to escape society and live in the woods? And quite honestly, if I didn't have a lot of ties, I have thought about it in the past, because I feel like I could just live the rest of my days in the wilderness and I would be secluded from everything. But again, I would be worried being alone that I would be in my thoughts a lot, but at least I wouldn't be in society, and maybe that's a wrong way to view things. because I haven't been in the greatest mental space lately, I admit. But just viewing things in that way, maybe I would be better off, because maybe I wouldn't be a burden to society, but I feel like that's kind of just me in my moment. But I'm slowly working myself out of it, and this year is going to be my year where I just fix my life and just become something of make something of it and do something at least. So that's what I'm trying to do with my life. Um, I feel like I'm a person that may always be alone in this world, so there is one thing I can say in this. If you ever feel alone, as I've stated before in other videos, just know that there's other people like you, but sometimes being alone, it just is what it is, and I shouldn't hold a negative outlook like that, I guess, but I feel like being realism and talking about this, I feel like that's just something I've been feeling lately, that because I'm alone, I feel like a person who's probably just meant to be alone, maybe not, because I'm not deserving of certain things. And so if you ever feel that way, just know that maybe you are deserving and you just don't realize that you are. But sometimes I feel like for every wrong that I have done in my life, that I don't deserve anything better than what I have. Not that what I have is bad. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that it could be better because I could engage to make it better. And as you see in what I'm wearing, which I haven't worn in a while, but I did go to the dump today, so I felt like wearing my old overalls and my button-up shirt, which was a signature style for a long while for me. First it was the t-shirt, if you remember from the beginning of my channel, and then it was the button-up shirts to try to like class up my look while I was farming. I have also contemplated doing like my own farming thing as a side hobby, but I think what I mainly want to do as a side hobby, if I ever get my shop organized enough and get all the projects done, which is another thing I want to mention in this video, I will be making happen, is projects, and I will, whether or not I film them, because I want to get what tractors I'm going to keep done, get rid of the rest, and bring them to the, like, two I'm building for people. The second one, if they're allowed to have it. The first one, I definitely want to finish building because I started it and I don't know if I made a video on it. And I just want to get rid of the junk that is accumulated in my life that's not, and just fix up what I have, including my truck, obviously, and just get all that stuff done in my lifetime so I can leave my family with restored pieces that are in running, driving condition, or if they've been parked for a little bit, it wouldn't take them much to get them running and driving again, and they've all been gone through, that kind of thing. And just clean all that up so I can make space in my shop, so I can start my furniture restoration, which would involve me going to thrift stores and looking for old furniture that I can get discounted, like chairs, mostly chairs and stuff. And then eventually I would love to own, I think I made a video on it, but I can look back, and if not, I will include it in a video someday. But I made a video of my grandparents had an old Ram 350 van back in the 70s, and I would love to find something similar to that, or like an older 70s, 60s, 70s van like that, because I think they're cool. Maybe 80s, depends. And but long like that, even a 40 Econoline, anything like that, so I could use that as my business vehicle. And if I needed to do some work to restore it, I could do that and then give my own custom logo on it once I had decided a business motto for my side business, because that's something I did when I was younger that I also wished I'd kept going, and I feel like I may have touched on it in the videos, but I feel like that would be something I would want to do with my life. And I feel like just making blogs and stating things, and just kind of like I've been in that bloggy mood because I haven't really been my 100% mentally, so I feel like the blog has helping me and stating things that I have contemplating doing. Kind of like other YouTubers I've seen that when they may not be in their full headspace, they just kind of blog. So you'll see a lot of that, and because I've always had a kind of fascination for interior design, and I've always felt like I had some sense of interior design to an extent as I visioned it. I don't think I would make it a full-on business where I would go decorate people's homes for them, because first I would have to establish it, and two, that's where I think I might lack a little bit. I mean, I probably could, but I would need a lot more skills than what I have, but I believe I've always had enough interior design skills enough to design a room to where I envision it and see it, but it's usually because from my vision and my standpoint. I'm more of like a neutral person when it comes to decorating rooms, like brown, mint green, and like brown, mint green, and like whites is usually my furniture, because if you've seen my piano, which I'm pretty sure you've seen it in videos, that is brown. I have a darker brown bookcase across from me where I'm pointing, like a lighter brown shelf that's been in my family forever, since a home that I lived in when I was younger, in grade school, middle school-ish, more like grade school, and it's got like a heart design on it. I really love it. And then I have this green tray on my television. Maybe I'll do a room tour someday. Um, some of the stuff in here isn't mine, but what is mine, and show you it, because I do have this really cool, what I think is pretty cute, heart-shaped tray that I got recently at a thrift store that I don't know if they'll be open again next year. I say next year, this coming year, I mean, because they have to move, and I don't know if they've found a building yet, but they've been in business since like 54, and a staple in this community. And I always like supporting them because I know they give back their funding to like the fire department and stuff, so I like to give back to the world as much as I can, and if I buy stuff from them, I'm helping giving back. I actually bought my treadle sewing machine that's upstairs that I showed you from them. I bought many other things from that place. I just think that's a good way to the community, and it's items I can use in my house, in the house, in my family's house. So yeah, but I may do that at some point. I also wouldn't mind your input on videos you would want to see me do. Topics you would want me to maybe touch on that might help you feel better in times. But I just felt like putting out a blog and just kind of doing that, and just trying to boost myself up in the best way I can. And I feel like outletting myself to YouTube and kind of just blogging and making random blogs lately is kind of my thing. Yeah, I can say again, if you're someone who's feeling alone and you just want to talk about whatever, I mean, feel free to message me on Instagram or anything if you feel you want to, or anything like that, and I can try to help you the best I can. I mean, but just know that even if you feel you're alone and there may not be much for you other than maybe like, say, select few family members or anything like that, just know that there's probably going to be someone out there for you somewhere, and that maybe you won't be alone forever. And just, realize that your worth, and maybe you did some things like I stated myself in the inspiration, or what I tried to make an inspirational video, and whether it was or not, but just know maybe you did those things, but maybe you don't have to live in that maybe the good things deserve to come to you, whether you feel that way or not. And just try to make the best of your life. Everyone's going to make choices in life that are not going to be the right ones all the time. And people are always going to maybe take a leap into something and not plan it out the way they want to, and just know that if you do that, you do that, and it's what you do. And just accept it as it is, and just be okay with that, and know that you made that leap, but maybe you can bring yourself into another aspect. I don't really know what else to say, other than I just felt like making a blog and kind of just getting my thoughts out for the day, and seeing that, and kind of like thinking, well, if anyone else maybe correlates with some of the ways I feel and kind of feels as I feel, and kind of is not having such a great time or a great year, just know that maybe your year will get better. And if you hold to that standard of maybe your year will get better, that and you put that positivity out there that maybe your year will get better, maybe you just need more than a year to sort yourself out, but just know that it will happen. And I believe that in some way and somehow, whatever I'm destined to do for the rest of my life should happen to some form, but it's all in a matter of if and when. And I know it'll come to me, I feel like, or at least I feel it will come to me as it comes to me. And things that I would like to do, but will I do them? How will I do them? Will other things end up showing itself and saying, this is probably what you should do with your life? And before I close this out, I'm also, to touch back on the music thing, trying to think of where else there really is any musical. See, when I was younger, before I close this out, I think finally, I had some love for old jazz music because I appreciated my dad's family's music of, because I was always into older music. And when I was a really little kid, especially, I had my first record player. I believe I've mentioned it on this channel, and I wish I had pictures of it. If I did somewhere, I would, well, post them up. But it was an old green Motorola, and for those of you who are familiar with them, I believe they were made in the 50s and 60s, maybe 60s, but they were fold-out speakers. And I kind of have one similar upstairs that I think I did a video on, but it's not a Motorola brand, but it was like that. And if I haven't, I'll look back, I'll make a video on it, where the speakers fold out in the front and the top flips up, and it has a little holder for the 45s. And I believe I've mentioned that I kind of wished I had never taken it apart and gotten rid of it, and maybe tried better at fixing it instead of using it for parts, because it was my first ever record player that I officially owned. And I believe I also mentioned that back in the day when I would listen to the local, it was a local country station. For those of you who are familiar with it will know what I'm talking about, WOKO. And that means you probably live in the same state that I do. And I remember getting a sticker from them because me and my grandfather would go to the OKO flea market at the local fairgrounds that they would have, and getting a sticker because they were free, and sticking it on the top of the front of it, right above the whole speaker and knob assembly. And I just remember that was my first record player. But I remember when I was younger, where I'm going with this, having like all these old 78 RPMs, because I think I paid $5 for that record player, and they were like old jazz ones I had picked up at the thrift. And when I bought it, it had one inside of it that I didn't know, until I got up to the counter. And I believe the song was Million Dollar Baby, and it was like the first one I ever heard. And then I think they made a song back in the 40s. It was like a jazz tune. It was like Honolulu Baby. Gonna make that angel mine was the line I remember, but the version I had was kind of like a rare one, and I have not been able to find it online. But I remember as a kid being so bummed because it accidentally got broken and was no longer playable, and I ended up having to get rid of it. But just remembering that, so that's kind of where earliness of my love for music kind of came in, and vinyl collecting uh, was stemmed from that. I kind of over the years owned vinyl at different times. Now I'm more of like country and not really into the jazz anymore. I'm trying to weed out of that, but so yeah. And I guess one thing I can say to that is, because I feel like sometimes I ramble, but as I'm thinking of things in my head, is another place could be New York City, but that's more of a Broadway and jazz thing, and I believe I had just touched on that. And anyways, I just don't think that would be my space either, even though I believe New York City has some culture, but I believe it also has a lot of like rough riff raff stuff, and then and then I think that's about it for musical places. I'm sure there's variations of music everywhere. I mean, I could move out of the country and go with a music career in another country, and I think the way that this country is going with the leadership we have now, in my opinion, I mean, not to get too political because I'm trying to avoid that, but needless to say, I feel like maybe I'm maybe if it got to a point where I feel it wasn't the greatest state to, or the greatest country to live in, that I would consider moving possibly to another country. I've said that to myself, but again, I don't think I ever would, because I just have too many ties here in the state that I live in. All my ancestry's been in this state. I don't really know what I would do at this point in my life, how I would survive. I'd be afraid I'd end up living out of a van or a car or something with all my belongings. And I don't know if I want to live that life, because I also don't know if I mentioned it in the video about the inspirational video I made recently, but when I was a kid, there were times where I feel like our family almost came to that. And when I was really young, we had to get rid of a lot of stuff with a big dumpster when we were forced to move out of a place by our landlord, who decided to sell it to his brother, who didn't end up fixing the hole in the ceiling while we were living there, and we had done a lot of stuff ourselves. And the guy really didn't want the place anymore. And I totally understand that, but just like the fact we had to quickly get rid of everything and just go was so kind of saddening to me, because I never really had a set place, and I guess that just kind of always stuck with me throughout my life, and maybe that's what made me troubled and stuff. But anyways, or part of what made me troubled, what I did was my own thing. I own that, but you know what I mean. Maybe I had some past stem trauma from that. But anyways, I think that's kind of where I want to leave the video. I just wanted to get thoughts out of my head, and I felt like I needed to vent, and this video may or may not get posted, because I may just vent it and then decide to delete it, because I don't know if I'm going to fully like the video when it's done, or I post the video and you're seeing it. So either way, it may or may not happen. I may just decide to redo the video altogether and do something different with the video. And yeah, so I hope that this video gets some enjoyment. I know my videos have been slightly heavy lately. It's just mostly getting my thoughts out, and that's what I wanted to create this space for, was for to get my thoughts out. I said that in the beginning, and I knew that I was going to go through rough patches in my life, and I knew that I was going to possibly make decisions in my life, in my later years as I created this channel that make me question if I did the right thing and stuff like that. So just that's why I feel like I'm starting to get myself to a point of making videos. And as always, keep your heads up, stay strong, all that kind of jazz. Have an excellent time, whatever it is, wherever you are. And just know that I love all of y'all who watch my videos, because I think everyone deserves to be loved in this world. Whether you know each other or not, I think to spread love and to spread kindness is something I've really been manifesting in my life. I'm trying my best to give to everyone around me and show everyone support and people that I watch on YouTube as much as I can. I admit there's some people I'm subscribed to that I haven't really been that fully interested in watching over others, but I'm trying to give the love and support to them and show them, to get their fan base up, to make them have, help boost their channel, because that's what I'm about. I will also say before I close this out as well, and that I created this channel not to become famous and not to be this well-known YouTuber, because that's not what I'm about. I don't want the fame. I don't want it. I would love everyone to view my channel and get something out of it. Like, comment, and subscribe if they choose to. And notification, like I always say, if they choose to, but not a thing. But definitely maybe keep in their mind that if they have a favorite, or say they stumble across the YouTube channel that they feel impacts them in some way, that they show that channel some love. They help their social media. They help better their channel and get the views they deserve to get. Because that's what I've been trying to do, is do things better in this world in recent years, since I've turned 30 to 32, which I'm 32 now, obviously. And I've said that before. I'm not afraid to share my age. That's something I know. Some people are, do they really want people to know how old they are? I mean, I don't really care. I know that age is just a number, and we all have to get older, and we all have to go through the life cycle. But that's kind of what I'm doing, is trying to show love to people's channels and kind of give them love, and maybe make YouTube friends along the way if people want that. If they don't, I totally understand and get that they don't, and giving them that breathing space, and just knowing maybe that's not what they want out of it. But if anybody wants to be YouTube friends, or any friends on social media, I mean, please. My social medias are linked right to this, and my Facebook that for this YouTube channel is also linked to it. So if you want to, and if you know where I live, and well, not directly where I live, but say you want to make a friendship in real life, I mean, I'm okay with it to an extent. Obviously, I'm not going to just firsthand with conversations from you just go like, hey, you can come hang out at my place. Obviously, I wouldn't do that anyways. I would make it a public meet if it was. But if you ever wanted to do a public meetup somewhere, and you lived in the nearby area, like at a place in the nearby city, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned in videos where I live, and you could probably surmise that right from my I believe it's on my Facebook and my Instagram. And so, yeah, I would do that. Maybe have a coffee, something like that, at some point, if somebody felt they needed that and they needed someone in their life. I don't know if I'll ever go to a famous level where I want to do public meetups as a content creator, because that's just not my thing in that sense, but I would do it for someone who just wanted someone to talk to. Maybe it's the later half of their life, they're around my age, and they just need someone to make them feel better. I could share and give them to what I would be willing to share advice, and just kind of do that, because I'm a person that doesn't really have a whole ton of, like, say, active friend circle as of now. And so I just want to throw that out there, that the possibility could be thrown, but I would want to get us to get to know each other through social media first before I even did that, because I'm a very, I wouldn't say I'm not open to it, but because I'm an introvert, I am a very privated person, obviously, for safety reasons, and a hermit. And wouldn't anybody be, you know, private for safety reasons, obviously. And I'm limited in what I share, but, you know, just for that reason, it's protection. But yeah. So anyways, I think that's basically, now that I've finally rambled enough. But yeah, if you ever want to hit me up, even just talking in Facebook or something, if you feel you need advice on something, and you feel that I might be the person to give you advice. I mean, I can give you advice to the best of my ability, but it's not going to be, it may not be fully everything you want to hear, but it'll be as best as I can give you. Yeah, so I will see you in the next video, YouTube folks, and I hope you have all excellent days, and I hope you just live with love and happiness, and have a lot of abundance surrounding you, and I hope that you're always blessed. And something I like to do in these recent times, and I think it's a good practice for anyone to make themselves feel better, is I like to pray for the world and everybody in it, as well as my family, obviously, of course, and people around me. But I like to also include that in my prayers, so I know that I'm putting out positivity to the world, because I want the world to know that, I want the world to have positivity in it, because I know there's a lot of negative things going on in the world nowadays, with, like, a lot of poverty, a lot of war, and a lot of political dispute. And I did, you know, that's just something I want to put out in this world. So I try to make a point every night when I pray. Sometimes I admit I don't always pray every night, because sometimes I forget when I'm really exhausted, but I tried my best to. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to pray and put positive out in the world. And I'm also journaling, which can help some people, because I feel like journaling is really giving me a way to let my thoughts out in the best possible way I can let my thoughts out. So I will see you in the next video, and that is bye for now. And as always, sunshine, unicorns, and rainbows. And if you're seeing this video, like I said, it got posted, but if you're not, you're not. Yeah.